Good evening. My name is President Hemminger. Today is Monday, November 20th. This is the November General Membership Meeting of the NAACP Arlington Branch. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Right. We have President Michael Hemminger, who is present. First Vice President James Younger.
Present.
Second Vice President Laurel Langhorne.
Present.
I'm Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Kathleen McSweeney will not be present. Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large, Karen Nightingale. Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large, Kellen McBeth. Kellen McBeth. Executive Committee at Large, Nadia Conyers. Nadia Conyers. Education, Tia Alfred.
Present.
Environmental and Climate Justice, Julia Spain. Is present. Thank you. Our Communications, Leah Matterall will not be present. Criminal Justice, Heather Kelly will not be present. Health, Tasia Iglesias. Housing, Wells Harrell. Wells Harrell. Legal Redress, Amy Stetzel.
Present.
Political Action, Jan Marie Pena. Jan Marie Pena. Religious Affairs, Pastor Davis. Pastor Davis. Religious Affairs, Rosa Dunkley.
Present.
And that concludes our roll call.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Sister Dunkley, could you please open us up with a word of prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come, Father God, thanking you, first of all, God, for a new day. God, we thank you for grace and mercy, for keeping us all day long. Oh God, as we prepare to go into this meeting night, Lord God, we ask that you would be the head, Father God, that everything be decent and in order. Oh Father God, as I close this prayer, Father God, I ask, Father God, that you would just keep everybody safe this Thanksgiving holiday, Father God. This is my prayer. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sister Dunkley. As we begin, I'd love for us just to take just another brief moment to reflect on some of Sister Dunkley's words. And as we celebrate this holiday week and we go into this meeting, be thinking about what you're thankful for this holiday season and this Thanksgiving. Every day that we wake up, every day that we have another fighting breath in our body, and every day that we're here to tell the story, we have a day to be grateful for. So got to keep that in mind. Thank you, Sister Dunkley. Okay, great. Next up, we need to hopefully suspend the rules. National has a specific approach to how we conduct our branch meetings. The executive committee met this month and approved a different agenda that allows us to move a little bit more robustly and have guest speakers. And so at this time, I'd like to see if there are any motions on the floor.
So move to suspend the rules.
Thank you. I heard a second from both past President Spain and First Vice President. Is there any discussion on this motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Hearing none. Well, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Will all those opposed, please say nay. And are there any abstentions? Okay, great. That's a unanimous vote to suspend the rules. I appreciate that. We're going to move into some updates from our treasurer. I'll have a couple remarks and then we'll hear from our speakers. So, Madam Treasurer, are you with us this evening?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Would you please bring us along with the September financial report? I know you were traveling and out of town. The executive committee did approve this report, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to speak at the membership meeting in case there were any questions. So let's talk about September and then we'll go into October.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So for September, we had $2,306.79 in revenue. We had in expenses a total of $66,366.86. No change to our savings or reserves account. So the balance remains at 5,000. For the checking account, we had a beginning balance of $77,237.56. And ended with a balance of $13,177.49. For our savings account for the scholarships, the Amazon Britain scholarships, we had a beginning balance of $247,322.04 and an ending balance of $245,322.04. And that is the report for September.
All right, thank you so much. Give me one moment. Trying to queue up a video, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. I apologize. Is there any further discussion, any questions, comments, concerns for the treasurer on the September financial report? All right, last call for any questions, comments, concerns for the September financial report. All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the September financial report as presented by the treasurer.
I make a motion that the September's budget report stand as is.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Dunkley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I believe that was that second VP.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, second VP. All right, any further discussion on September financial report? This is your last opportunity. All right, hearing none, will all those members in favor of adopting the September financial report as presented by the treasurer, would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Are there any abstentions? Great, another unanimous vote. I appreciate that. Madam Treasurer, the floor is yours for the October financial report.
Thank you. So this is the October report. Donations, we had, or revenue, we had a total of $31,311. For expenses, if we can scroll down a little bit, we had a total of $25,410.18. So our branch reserves remained the same. The balance remained at 5,000. The checking account, we had a beginning balance of $13,177.49 and ended with a balance of $19,078.31. For our savings account for the scholarships, Amazon and Britain, we had a balance of $247,322.04 and an ending balance of $245,322.04. And that is the October report.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. The October report has been presented. Are there any questions or comments for the treasurer? Any questions or comments for the treasurer on the October financial report? Okay, hearing none, are there any motions?
I
Any
make a
motion?
motion to accept the October treasurer's report subject to audit.
Second.
All right, I heard a motion. It's been properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion on the October financial report? Okay, well, all those members in favor of adopting the October financial report as presented by the treasurer, would you please say aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those members who oppose, please say nay. Are there any abstentions? Okay, great. That's another unanimous vote. Madam Treasurer, I appreciate all that you do. You don't get enough credit for all the behind the scenes work that you do, and I appreciate it. I know we keep you busy, and I know October was especially busy. So thanks again for all that you do.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try to share screen. And I'm going to share just a quick video from National. Let me share sound as well. It's only 60 seconds, so bear with me. You know, I love to share a quick video. Could someone come off mute and let me know if you see some mountains on the screen?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet. Okay. I think I may have hit the wrong button. Let me try again. Share screen. And here, share sound. What about now?
Perfect.
Yep.
Yep.
There
Got
they
it.
are.
All right. Turn up your sound. It's a cool video.
Can we all come together? I'm calling on you.
Din da da do do do, din da da do do, din da da do do do, din da da do do, din da da do do do, din da da do do, din da da do do do, din da da do do, din da da do do do, din da da do do, din da da do do do, din da da do. Eins, zwei, eins, zwei, eins,
Close this before the next video tries to run. Okay, I just wanted to share that quick video with you all. If you didn't catch the date, it looks like it was the 13th through the 17th, I believe, of July. Our branch will be sending delegates. We have voting strength within the association. We'll be electing our officers. There will be lots of cool workshops and seminars and forums. It's a presidential year, 2024. So make no mistake, as our past president likes to say, there will be lots of high-level keynote speakers. And so I want to encourage as many folks as we can to attend. Like I said, I do know we get a voting strength. If you're a member of the NAACP, you're welcome to attend, even if you can't vote. It will be a historic convention, I'm sure. So if you, I want to encourage you just again to save the dates. I'm planning on attending. I know several of our executive committee members are planning on attending as well, and it will be worth every single penny. And you know, just to be in the room filled with civil rights leaders and champions from across the nation. I can't tell you how it felt to be in Boston. Just hearing all the stories, you know, all the stuff that NAACP is doing. We're changing lives and hearts and minds every single day. There's people on the front lines across the nation, and it feels good to be in the company of all those freedom fighters. Additionally, our branch is very well known. When people hear that you're from the Arlington branch of the NAACP, almost everyone has heard about our branch. As soon as you check in, the folks at National, they're gonna celebrate you, they're gonna welcome you. You know, we are a very powerful branch, thanks to all of you that are on the call, and thanks to all the freedom fighters that are in our community. A couple other just brief updates. We're moving full steam ahead with the deaths in the jail. I believe we'll hear a more comprehensive update from our legal redress chair. I just did want to let our members know that we submitted, you know, maybe over 100 documents to National, and they're currently, you know, pulling all the documents apart, putting them together, and really trying to build their own case as well. We saw very strong interest in our preliminary calls with National to take some type of action. We did formalize that request with a letter that we sent to National, as well as the state conference. And we have every reason to believe that in the coming days and weeks, we will see some type of action come out of National. So stay tuned. I think our education chair will talk more about the work that we're doing with the overdoses. Her and I both had a meeting this weekend with elected leaders and community leaders across the county. The county, unfortunately, is moving too slow. Our kids are overdosing almost, if not every single day. We've had 2 kids that have tragically passed away. So at NAACP, we're not going to wait for the government to act. We're going to do all that we can in the meantime to make sure that our schools are a place of learning and that our kids don't end up passing away while they're at school. I also wanted to let you know that I spoke at a meeting, I think it was last Tuesday, in regards to how the county is going to use carryover funds There were several other community leaders that spoke. There was $500,000 in carryover funds, or quote unquote leftover money, that the county was deliberating on using towards after school programming in the hopes of ending or preventing some of the overdoses that we're seeing. I'm happy to report that as a result of our activism and our organization, the county increased that $500,000, which again wasn't on the table, to $750,000. And they've let us know that the goal is to try to use those funds really before April or May. In my remarks, I asked the county to look more comprehensively at how they're using DPR funds. Currently, the fiscal year 2024 budget has about $54 million. When we asked about how the county has used the equity resolution and framework against that $54 million, unfortunately, we were not able to get a response. We did hear from the county manager that he's going to do a gap analysis on all of the teen programming currently happening in the county. And I'm going to follow up my spoken testimony with a written letter demanding that the county take a look at that $54 million and tell us how that money is being used and stacked up against the equity framework, and particularly as it relates to historically disadvantaged young people in our community. So stay tuned, more to come on that. Criminal justice has been very active. I don't think she's with us, but we did formalize a letter as well, and perhaps someone from the committee could speak more on this. But we found out about a model in a neighboring jurisdiction where there's an advisory group of residents in the community that help provide feedback and advice from a community perspective, right in Alexandria. Our criminal justice committee met with the sheriff and he seemed open to the idea. So again, we formalized that request with the letter. He has acknowledged that he's received the letter, but we have not heard anything new. So stay tuned on that. With our health committee, I'm sure she'll talk more about some of the money that is on the table with our branch. I'm really excited about all the work that she's doing. Not so visible yet, but definitely doing the good Lord's work. And so I hope that she'll share some more information on that tonight. Political Action Chair, again, I know it's a holiday week and a lot of our committee chairs are away. But I want to celebrate them for the Souls to the Polls event that they put together, as well as having conversations and registering thousands. And when I say thousands, I do mean thousands of people that otherwise would not have been registered. And it just started with voter engagement conversations knocking on their door. Next, I want to bring us to the restroom in Green Valley. If you've been following that closely, I think you'll know that there's an urgent need to put a restroom in Green Valley. I can't say too much at this moment, but I do want to just tease that we potentially have a donor that's willing to fund a bathroom in Green Valley, so as long as NAACP plays an active role. So I hope to have a more comprehensive update for you in the coming days, and certainly at the next executive and general membership meeting in December. But lots happening with the Arlington branch of the NAACP. I want to invite you to save the date, December 18th at 6:30 p.m. Our branch is having our first in-person meeting at Walter Reed Community Center. It's going to be a holiday meeting, a very short business meeting. We're going to spend a lot of time just socializing and having some fellowship. There'll be light hors d'oeuvres and snacks. I encourage all of you on the call tonight to join us. We're going to need all hands on deck next year. And again, December 18th, 6:30 at Walter Reed, our first in-person meeting. We'd love to come and celebrate the holidays with you. Madam Secretary, could you please brief the membership on the state convention? Unfortunately, I was not able to attend. Would love if you or First VP could just share a couple remarks about that.
Sure, I think First VP was going to talk about that during his remarks.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. And then lastly, we are a not-for-profit organization. So in the coming days, our leaders will be meeting to determine how we will be using our holiday donations that we've historically done. I believe last year we were able to give out several $1,000s, and we're looking to do that again this year because of the strong financial contributions of all of you on this call and all of us in our community. we're able to make a real meaningful difference in the lives of so many people and organizations in our community. And so again, we're really looking forward to deliberating on that and getting some well-earned money back into the community. Madam Secretary, am I missing any other major updates?
And no, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, at this time, I'd love to bring up Mr. Hammond. I'm going to read a brief intro and then the floor will be yours. So Mr. Hammond is a 7th generation member of the Syphax family. He retired from the United States Department of Interior after many years of service. He's a genealogist and a family historian, and he spent decades researching, writing, and lecturing about the Syphax family and their place in Virginia history, a very robust history, I might add. Tonight, he'll be sharing information about the campaign to pass legislation to redesignate the Robert E. Lee Memorial in Arlington National Cemetery as Arlington House National Historic Site. As he's speaking tonight, I encourage you to drop some questions in the chat that you may have. There will be a couple minutes after his presentation, I hope, just to have some dialogue with some of the members. And I'm sure some of the links relative to the work that Mr. Hammond's been doing and working so hard on will also end up in the chat. And so I encourage you to pay attention. So without further ado, Mr. Hammond, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The floor is yours.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to bring up my slides. Hopefully you can see those at this point. This branch is so active. I really appreciate the work that you all do for our community. The last time I had an opportunity to interact with you was on the Juneteenth celebration with the Arlington Historical Society, and I really appreciated the opportunity to say a few words during that time. We only have a few minutes here this evening, so I want to run through these slides pretty quickly here and then be able to entertain your questions. So this picture is taken back in April. You may or may not recall that Arlington House had a celebration of the first reunion of descendants at Arlington House. It included Lee family members. There were probably about 100 descendants that attended, and there were probably close 75 to 100 other people in the community that also attended. This was covered by NPR as well as the local media, and we got a lot of attention as a result of this as we begin to talk about how we want to change our community. We have been meeting since 2001. We have established a list of projects and activities that we want to do in terms of raising our voices together. And I point to the one at the top there, which is primarily to reclaim the Arlington House narrative, which has up to now had been, centered around Robert E. Lee and George Washington Parke Custis and their families. And so our goal is to reclaim this narrative and to help and nudge the National Park Service to do more as we make this site more inclusive and more welcoming to our community. Back in 2002, September, I wrote an op-ed along with a Robert E. Lee descendant family member that talked about encouraging a necessary name change there. And we got quite a bit of feedback with that. We actually have been involved in this process of, instead of using the words change the name, I'm using the word redesignate. Change sometimes has, an electric connotation for people. So we want to try to stress the fact that this is a redesignation to change the name of the place from Arlington House, the Robert E. Lee Memorial, to Arlington House National Historic Site. And we're hoping that we can get this effort done here in the next, within this Congress. There are actually two pieces of legislation that have been introduced in the House. There's one in the House and one in the Senate. You can see from this slide that there are actually 5 initial co-sponsors that were a part of this. There were 6 additional co-sponsors, including Eleanor Holmes Norton in DC. We're really pleased that the reps in Virginia have been a part of this. As of this morning, there are 84 co-sponsors on this bill right now. We're excited about that. We're moving in the right direction. but we have a lot of work to do in terms of trying to cross the aisle to get our Congress to actually talk to one another. This resolution is really very simple. It's only 180 words long when you look at it here. But the big point is that once this is passed, this site will be forever known as Arlington National Historic Site. I wanted to point out to you all that there have been a number of notable supporters of the redesignation legislation. You can see your branch there in the middle, but the top half of this slide shows organizations that have basically expressed support in terms of letters to our family circle, as well as to elected officials. And then the lower half identifies several individuals who are notable that have also played a role with this. And we're looking to expand this list to try to help our elected officials see that this is not just a local effort, but this is something that is far-reaching and is a nationwide effort to change how we have conversations about our history, as well as trying to help people understand that talking about slavery and enslavement and restitution, are important parts of our society. The next couple of slides are just simply a couple of examples of people who have written statements of support for us. We have the League of Descendants of the Enslaved at Mount Vernon. The Quander family has expressed support. We have on the left-hand side here, Henry Louis Gates has expressed support, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation has also expressed support for the things that we're doing, and we really appreciate that. And that, kind of brings me to one of the things that I want to talk to you all about tonight, and that is to seek your support as an organization, not just with our online petition here, but also in terms of a letter of support for the descendants and for the legislation. As of this morning, or as of about an hour ago, our online petition that has been put together by descendants has 3,254 signatures. We have a modest goal of 5,000 signatures. We'd like to shoot for 50 signatures in every state in the country at a minimum, with again, the goal being to highlight for elected officials that people in their districts care about this, care about it enough to put their names on this petition. One of the things that we have done as a part of this effort is we actually have created an interactive online petition mapper. And this map is probably a week or two old, but it shows it's a heat map that shows the cluster of where people are, have signed, where they exist. At the present time, there are people in every state in the country, although there may be only one or two. You can see there in the mid section of our country. But the thing that is amazing to me is that we have people in every state and in 15 foreign countries. The other thing is that this also covers more than 2,100 different zip codes across the country. When people sign up in this change.org petition, they enter their zip code, so that way we can get a sense for where they're at. And so our goal with that is to be able to use this to help educate our elected officials, to show them that there are indeed people in their districts that care deeply about this. The other thing that this mapper allows people to do, it's an interactive mapper that anybody can get into, is you can actually go and find your zip code and your district, and then you can find your elected official. And in doing so, you can click on, in this case, Abigail Spanberger from Central Virginia, and it'll take you to her contact webpage, and you can actually send her a short note that would say, I'm Steve Hammond. I just signed this petition. I care about this, and I'd like for you to care about it too. And so with this, we hope to try to get more interaction with folks that are going to make decisions on the floor in the House and in the Senate, and try to get more information in their hands. This is a little tracking chart that I put together, try to keep up to date and try to figure out where we're at to see how we're doing with our signatures. And you can see on the left, the DMV is doing pretty well, although Maryland and the District of Columbia are lagging behind several states. I would have hoped that we would be further along there. But, nevertheless, we have several hundred that exist amongst those 3 states. But across the rest of the country, we have almost 20, 22, 23 states that are very close to 50 signatures per. And even in Wyoming and North and South Dakota, we have people that care about this. So we're excited to see this, and I get a charge to see how this continues to grow each week. So last but not least, how can the Arlington branch assist us? Well, we're asking you to sign the petition. First of all, take a look at it and see if you agree. I believe that a week or two ago, your communications chair sent out an email that with a flyer that said, hey, please consider signing this. And I would appreciate it if you would consider that. The other thing would be asking for a letter of support, whether that be to us as an organization in terms of the family circle, or to folks like Don Beyer, who is the sponsor of this bill. Not so much to say we need you to sign on to this, but to remind him how much we believe this is important, and to have him to continue to push hard to get this done. We'd like for you to also reach out to the Congressional Black Caucus. We know that there are 22 members of the Black Caucus that have already signed on to the bill. So that number is continuing to grow, but we want to go further. And then the last thing that I think would be wonderful is if we could get the NAACP in general, NAACP in general, to think about this nationally. Is there a way that you would be willing to work with National to get them to provide outreach to get the rest of the country involved in this effort? So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and see if there are things that we can do to help you help us.
All right, awesome, Mr. Hammond. You flew through that presentation. I mean, it was a lot of information, kind of really packed, but I'm pretty impressed. At this time, I'd like to open it up to see if there are any questions for Mr. Hammond. We did drop a link in the chat. Our branch is supporting this effort wholeheartedly, and we're going to speak with our Virginia State Conference as well as National to see what we can do to lift this up as well. Past President Spain, I see you raised your hand. Go for it.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to see you again, Steve. And
yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for making this presentation. So the Congressional Black Caucus and other elected leaders, are you asking us to use the NAACP to go through the NAACP to CBC, or do you want us to kind of just write a stand aside letter to CBC? I'm thinking that, and President, we can speak with Exec Committee later, but I'm quite sure National can get on board with this if we tee it up the right way, and most folks in our branch. So CBC, I mean, have you reached out to them directly at all?
Yes, I've actually sent a note to the chair there, and as we got people in various districts, we're working to reach out to them as individuals. I think that having an echo coming from other organizations to the chair would kind of emphasize the importance of this effort, and to let them know that we're not in this alone.
Okay, thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
Is there a form letter that we can share? I actually have, in the, but the mapper, there actually is kind of a draft letter there for individuals that are doing this. And I am happy to provide a draft of a form letter that could be used. I'm hoping that folks can, make their letters unique clearly to try to emphasize so that it's not all reading the same way. But I'd be happy to work with you to pull something together. Absolutely.
Next up, we have our second VP. Second VP, was that your question in the chat, it looks like?
Yeah, that was my question. That would be helpful, though. I could tailor it and share it to some different organizations.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Note to self.
Ms. Hall, did you want to speak to your question? And that's a great idea on resolution. We will bring that before the executive committee.
Fine, it's Dr. Hall. It's no worries.
Dr. Hall, I apologize.
No, it's all good. Hi, good evening, everyone. It's nice to be with you all. My name is Dr. Laso Hall. I'm a previous branch president in New Bedford. Actually helped to co-host the convention in Boston. I guess, I think writing a resolution makes sense to me prior to convention. But the other thing is, you spoke a good amount about the support. And so my question would be, if there's so much support, what is the opposition? And I think for me, that's much more interesting, as it sounds like you've got a good, you're probably speaking to the choir. And so I guess my question would be, why has this not already happened, if that's a fair question?
Well, I think it is a fair question. When we started this effort right after the House was reopened in 2021, it was the end of the previous administration, and it just was not going anywhere. There were just nobody that would bring this to the floor. And I think that that's been the other part of this, is that our Congress is having difficulty talking to each other, the left side and the right side. And in order to get this bill passed, we've got to have help from the right. And so our goal is to try to help those people on the right to see that this is a bipartisan issue, that, it's time to be thinking about how we can make places like this, that is an icon that overlooks our nation's capital, to have conversations that talk about our entire history. And clearly there are people that have a problem with just that concept by itself. So our goal is trying to break down this brick wall so that people will, not be worried about telling us that they support this effort. And I think by showing them that there are constituents in their districts that care about this, it can help them kind of move to the middle and be able to support this. So I don't know that helps a great deal, but it's the big challenge is going to be getting this attached to a bill that will reach the floor.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Atkins, before I go to you, Dr. Hall, I just wanted to, recognize the Black excellence in the room and celebrate you for your doctorate degree, but also to thank you for all your efforts with the Boston Convention. And I thank you for the recommendation on the resolution as well. So cheers to you.
Absolutely. I appreciate your kind words, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, Ms. Atkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Steve. It's good to see you here. And I'll take this into my church, Rock Spring UCC, and I encourage other members to do that too, as a way to get more names on the petition and get more people informed about this effort.
I appreciate that. That's one of the things that we've been trying to encourage people to do, is think about what your network looks like. So with the church, and we think about our network that's near us right here, but most of us have a network that extends around the world these days. So I would encourage people to think about folks that here and far that might have an interest, that we are waiting for this to catch fire so that it will go viral. And, I keep waiting for that to happen. And, I know it's out there, but we just haven't reached that point yet. But with your help, I think we can, get closer to that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Mr. Hammond while we have him?
Oh,
go ahead. Yep, go ahead, Ms. Perry. The floor is yours.
do you have some mechanism for getting this information out to people in the western part of the country. I'm thinking of my sister. My sister lives in Los Angeles. And are you using different branches to get the information out, or how are you doing that?
Great question. I actually know presidents, I live in Loudoun County, so that, that's next door to you all. I also know the one of the vice presidents there in the Seattle area.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why I'm coming to you tonight is because as we think about this being a local effort, I'm hoping that you can help me expand it to your broader organization. And I'm looking to try to do that with other organizations as well. ASALA would be another example of that in terms of trying to get them to think about the organization nationally. So I'm open for suggestions in that space. I'd be, like to entertain any suggestions I receive. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So if there are no other questions, it's your last opportunity. This did come before the executive committee at our last meeting. We started to draft a letter. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to just read a couple of the paragraphs that we've drafted so far. Again, this isn't the final version, but here's where we're at. Founded in 1909, the NAACP is the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization. Our mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. NAACP Arlington Branch strongly supports legislation to redesignate Arlington House, the Robert E. Lee Memorial, as Arlington House National Historic Site. Descendants of the Branham, Custis, Gray, Henry, Lee, Norris, Parks, and Syphax families who lived enslaved and free at the Arlington House Plantation are leading the effort to redesignate the site. Members of the descendant families live in Arlington County today. NAACP Arlington Branch firmly stands with them to support legislation to redesignate the site. The new name will focus on a more holistic history of Arlington House and bring recognition to all who live there. So just one quick clause that we've started to draft already. We'll continue to finalize that letter and we'll send it over to you for a final review before we send it out. For those of you that are on the call this evening, stay close to your email. Once that's finalized, we'll send it out to you as well. So Mr.
Thank
Hammond,
you so much. Really appreciate that, Mr. Hemminger.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Any concluding remarks for you that you'd like to share with our members this evening?
I would just like to again say how much I appreciate all the work that you're doing in our community to try to raise up, make our community safer, and think about the things that we're having so much difficulty trying to make change in. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is to create some change that will create space for us to be a better community. So we look forward to working hand in hand with you as we go down this path together, and we really appreciate your support.
Thank you. We echo those sentiments as well, and you have my commitment that we will work with our partners at the Virginia State Conference as well as national to see what efforts we can do there. So we're happy to help in whatever capacity we can.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you to the members and everything that you're doing.
Thank you for being here this evening. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up, I want to bring up our education chair. Madam Secretary, could you spotlight our education chair?
Certainly.
Madam Chair, you might have to say a couple words in order for us to find you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm here. Oh, sorry.
Did we find her?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good. How are you all?
Good. There you are. All right. So I know I'm gonna pass it over to you. I'm gonna let you run the show. But before I do, I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank you, Ms. Tia, for all the work that you've been doing. Kind of behind the scenes as well. You hit the ground running. I think it was March or April and or February. I can't even remember. It's all a blur. But from the moment that you jumped on, your plate was full, and it's been full since you've been enrolled. So you have quickly acclimated not only to the association, but in your role as chair of the Education Committee. It's a very important committee. It's one of our founding committees, and so just wanted to publicly recognize all the work that you're doing. I truly appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce to you our current Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Student Support Officer. So Dr. Crawford was appointed by APS and officially started with us on July 5th. She is a lifelong educator who began her teaching career in the Syracuse, New York area prior to moving to Northern Virginia. She holds a bachelor's degree from the State University of New York at Geneseo and a master's degree from Syracuse University. She received her doctoral degree from the George Washington University. She's also served as a teacher at Swanson Middle School here in Arlington, an assistant principal at Drew and Claremont Immersion Elementary Schools, director of special education and interim assistant superintendent in APS. She joined Alexandria City Public Schools as the principal of the Northern Virginia Juvenile Detention Center before becoming the chief of student services and equity for over 7 years. The Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Student Support Officer is a new role combining the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer and Student Support to create a new expanded cabinet-level position to oversee diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as student support. This allows APS to better support student mental health, address student behaviors, and support diversity, equity, and inclusion within one office. We'd like to welcome to you Dr. Crawford. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am going to screen share if I can. It is saying unknown for me. Let me see if I can. Excuse me 1 second. Are there any restrictions on sharing?
None.
Okay. Dr. Bird, if you can hear me, would you mind trying to pull up the slides since I know you have them as well? Please forgive me. This is never what you want to have happen when you're about to start.
Give me 1 minute. I'll give it a shot.
Thank you. And I'll just start talking just because I know we have a short time period together. So first of all, many thanks to all of you for having me on this evening. I have had the wonderful opportunity to be in different meetings with some of you since I have joined Arlington Public Schools or rejoined since July. And I'm very excited to be here and to really get into a few of the details, just touch upon some of the details of what our work will be. Ty, if you want to click to the next slide for me. And thank you to Dr. Bird, our awesome executive director of DEI, who is joining this evening and did not realize that he was going to be Fana White and click the slides for me. So thank you, Ty. Sorry about that, to put you to work.
You got it.
Had a really nice intro there, so I don't need to go too in depth here, but just a sample of a little bit about me. We do believe in our schools, as we work to build positive culture and climate, that we need to have connection before content, or relationship before rigor. We need to get to know one another, and sometimes that's hard as an educator to give up time to really relationship building, but it's the difference maker in your class for all of our students. So yep, just the top line here. We have SUNY Geneseo. I don't know if I have any New Yorkers on the line, but I am an upstate New Yorker and went to Geneseo for my undergrad, the proud Orange woman with my Syracuse degree for my master's, and GW is what brought me down here to go back to school and pursue my doctoral degree. I do have Cornell up there because Dr. Bird and I and Kristen are engaged in the DEI certification program through Cornell right now. So just mentioning that we are continuing to further our own professional knowledge and in a course right now and pursuing that certification. again, briefly, if you know me at all or have had the unfortunate pleasure to sit next to me on a Monday morning after a Steelers loss like this weekend, you know that I'm an avid sports fan and I will watch almost anything. My dad was from Pittsburgh, so that's where the New York connection goes. My dad won the battle on Sunday. So I'm a very big sports fan. Again, sharing just so we have some connection before content. And those are two of my beautiful nephews in the middle. I have 7 nephews and 2 nieces. They're from Jersey, and they are so inspiring to me with all of their the wonderful pursuits that they have, including 2 of my nephews being teachers, one in Alexandria and one in New Jersey. Just moving along the bottom line, I did start my teaching career in Syracuse, New York before moving down here. And I'm going to highlight the second A because that was my first stop in Arlington. And I'm so lucky to work with the colleagues who I did in the field of special education, very passionate and always have been in working for students who maybe need something a little bit different, thinking outside the box as we talk about education for students. And I highlight the Arlington symbol there because that's also where my journey began with cultural competence in 2006, under the leadership of Dr. Alvin Crawley and also Cheryl Robinson. Cheryl, who was the Minority Achievement Coordinator at the time, that was my first training, interactions, book studies, really digging deep into the work, as Dr. Crawley would call it, the work that we do that is student-centered to make a difference in student lives. I think of that time period as really being a learner versus a leader, because it was years of study under their leadership in then bringing some of that work to the Juvenile Detention Center when I transitioned to be principal there. And I do always say, if you don't believe overrepresentation exists, or you don't believe that we have disparities in not just our education system, but our justice system, then you haven't seen many of our students who have the traumatic experience of being at the detention center, because most do not have the same skin color that I have. And it is just a quick snapshot in, wow, we need to ask questions because we know that it is not skewed in how many people are breaking the law when you're talking about teenagers, but we do see disparate outcomes for different groups and really need to have those hard conversations about why. Juvenile Detention Center was a job that I was so passionate about, and one of the most rewarding and hardest, obviously emotionally challenging, with the degree of recidivism and seeing some of the same students coming into the school. But you'll hear me talk about urgency, and it's a word that I use a lot. No place was it more important than at the detention center, when you have students who have become, not all, but a fair amount, disengaged with their learning because a school system was not perhaps responsive to their needs. Or as sometimes the students would share, they didn't feel like they got a second chance or a third chance if they had made a mistake. So what wants to re-engage the students? And we pose the same question in our department now, like, what can we do immediately to affect change for our students? Because it is always about, what do our students need? I was lucky enough to do the principal position at JDC for a few years, and then we had a new superintendent in Alexandria, and it happened to be Dr. Crawley, who I was just more than pleased to go back and do some work for at central office. And that's when moved over to the equity and student services in Alexandria. Because it's most relevant, some of the things I wanted to talk about: what did I do? What's my experience, my skills? I'm not necessarily the picture of what you think of when you talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. You might not think of a short white woman. So just to talk a little bit about the work that we did in ACPS in Alexandria, that really was a wonderful foundation for me coming into Arlington of the journey. Because when we started in Alexandria, our journey, we were talking about cultural competence. And it is, again, it's a journey, it's learning. You have to become aware of your own biases that may play out, whether you realize them or not. and slowly push that work. And so I was so proud when I transitioned to a different position that we had gone through our cultural competence, we had done equity work, and we were explicitly stating that we were on an anti-racist journey. That was the language we used. That was the foundation of our strategic plan. And we got a little bit of backlash, and depending on which blog you look at, for calling ourselves equity warriors, since equity, depending on who you're talking to, might not be the most education friendly word, but just, being unapologetic about the work that we needed to do, because we were looking at what did the data tell us about access, opportunity, and outcomes for our students. So made a transition to Prince William County Schools, and I was not there super long when this opportunity opened up in Arlington, and I just couldn't have been more excited to return. I live off the Pike in South Arlington. I've been an Arlington resident for 20 years, and really just wanting to come back, and sort of felt like home, to give back to the community that I feel like has given me so much. And so I always say I had a brief stop in Prince William before I was able to rejoin an amazing team in Arlington Public Schools again. So I'm going to ask Ty to click to the next, because it goes along with what the intro was this is a new position with respect to, we've had chiefs of DEIs previously, and I'm picking up the good work that Dr. Bird did as our interim. This is a new formation of sorts of offices. So we have the Office of Student Services, thinking about your mental health services, your student support team. Substance abuse was mentioned, and the crisis that we are dealing with at the beginning of the meeting all falls under student services. We have our school culture and climate office under Mr. White. We work on the student code of conduct, our student transition hearings, and then just working every week with schools to build a positive climate and culture in the school. And then, of course, our diversity, equity, and inclusion under Dr. Bird's leadership, pulling all of those things together, even just in the few months that I've joined the team, there's such tremendous opportunity for partnership and collaboration and growth. And I will say, in my experience, my professional and personal experience, when we look to move the needle, to have that urgency that I talked about, to really have hard conversations, it can't be a one-person lens. So, I remember hearing one time when we first started the work in Alexandria, someone said, "Oh, I have to do equity today." And well, that's not a check the box. It's not a one meeting. It's a commitment that you should be making as an educator, and that so many of our educators do. So it's building who we partner with, which is why I think the organization of this department really lends itself so beautifully to us supporting our students and our families with all of the different needs. If you can switch for me, Dr. Bird. Okay, so just very briefly, and I want to watch my time. When we talk about what is the vision for our work and what do we see in our department, we are looking to either remove barriers or inequities that enable, talking as an example, race as an identity to be a predictor of student achievement and outcome. We want all of our students to have a path to the future that they want to pursue, that there aren't any roadblocks that are in there. And if there are roadblocks, having worked at the detention center, bumps happen. I would tell the students, things happen, and it doesn't have to define you. But if there are roadblocks, how do we support in getting it back on track, and never losing hope that all of those opportunities should be available to you, regardless of what your identity is. Your identity is there for you to be proud of, not something that, because of structural issues, hold you back. So, vision for DEI, remove those barriers. And how do we get there? It's not a check the box. It's not an overnight journey. As I mentioned in Alexandria, that was 7 years. And they're still working together. Dr. Bird partners with ACPS. They're still moving the needle, working. They would be the first to tell you their scores aren't where they want them to be. They haven't seen all of their outcome, but they're pushing and continuing with the commitment as are we. I do think when you talk about DEI work, to make progress, this first bullet is really it for me. It's creating those spaces where people can engage in discussion, even if it's something that is unfamiliar or uncomfortable. And I sort of put it out there. I would say if you are a person who has had the privilege of not having to discuss race for a long time, or maybe ever in some of these cases, that can feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. You know, we just need to make sure that we are having these spaces, we are engaging in conversation that is learning about yourself, so that we move instruction, access, opportunity forward for our students. We do use data to guide our work in supporting our schools, and I'll give you just a snapshot of something in a second. And it's in Dr. Bird's office. He works very closely with academics to collaborate with them in schools in providing both resources, but also guidance on culturally responsive and sustaining teaching practices and resources, and helping in individual situations when schools might say, I'm not sure what's happening here. Can you brainstorm with me and give me some additional support? I already mentioned the degree of urgency that I feel, and I know sometimes I have to step back and catch my own breath so that I'm not overbearing. I can't force my will on somebody else. That's not how that journey completes. It is bringing someone along in their own understanding. So next slide, Ty. Okay, so I'm not going to go into great detail of these. I just want to highlight a few things for you. And most importantly, I would like to highlight here that these next two slides that you'll see are actually from a work session that we did with the school board on September 26th. And I put the link in the bottom. I'll share this document. But we have a tremendous amount of specifically discipline data disaggregated by different groups, including race, students with disabilities, EL, gender, et cetera, where we look at overall suspension, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension. So I'm highlighting one area here, just when we talk about that we make data-driven decisions, little alliteration there. This is an example. And so you see when we look at the school year 21 to 22, moving to 22 to 23, we did see a nice decline in two areas of 9% for out-of-school suspension for K through 12. However, we celebrate for a second. Yay, that's a great decline. And you can see that there are still clear discrepancies going across the board in the different areas. So that is an opportunity for us to step back and say, okay, good job. You get one pat, but don't get caught up in patting yourself on the back, because there's still so much more work to do when we look at the areas of disproportionality. Dr. Bird, thank you. So I just mentioned this, and this is what we do. These are the conversations that we have when we look at data. We look at what are the celebrations, the glows, if you will, some people say, and where are our grows? Where do we need to continue that work? And this is what we see. We recognize and want to have honest, transparent conversations and data sharing with the community of this is an issue for us. We know it. We need then to change in some manner, because an equity quote that has always stuck with me is the system is perfectly designed for the results that you're getting. And the results that we are getting are unacceptable. So how are we going to change the system? What are we going to do, not just in writing, but in practice? So that's where that second bullet of focusing on alternatives to suspension for all students, but in particular, where we are seeing overrepresentation, things not matching up proportionally with our students who are Black, Hispanic, English learners, and students with disabilities. And that comes down to the equity work that we're talking about, and things like learning more about restorative practices. We use the word equity a lot. Do we really have a consistent definition and meaning when we talk about equitable services, equitable access, and how are we bringing our whole school community along in that understanding that links to our professional learning? Restorative practices I have used for many years. And when the emphasis is there, when the training is there, when it is a commitment from the student and the staff side, we see clear results in reducing that disproportionality. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, and again, I won't go for time purposes because I'm a talker. I will not keep going, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what do? We have action steps that we outline. How are we holding ourselves accountable? And one celebration here, thank you to Dr. Bird and his team, who are small but mighty, because right now his team is really one other teacher specialist in the DEI office. They will have very soon completed implicit bias training for all APS employees across the board. This is an expectation and a requirement for our staff to have completed the first level of phase 1 of the implicit bias training. That includes our school board, who we trained several months ago, and they are moving on in their training. So completing implicit bias training across the board is a huge celebration for us. And again, you get one pat and then push on. So now we're ready for phase 2, which is what they are doing, training facilitators and people who are interested in moving that conversation forward before we have expectations and requirements moving out. The other thing that I think is really neat that Dr. Bird is engaged in is that in this group may be aware, the Virginia Department of Education has a culturally responsive teaching standard in the teaching evaluation system. And so Ty and his team have done some analysis on, well, based on how the teachers were rated and staff were rated, who came out with really high ratings and who had some areas of need. And then how can we differentiate our support? So if we do see that there are some ratings in a school that aren't where we want them to be, how can we go in and work with the principal and the teachers to really give more resources and support in getting that culturally responsive and sustaining teaching up to not just meet expectations, but we want to exceed expectations. And then I think you may be aware that we've also added, we're able last year in good budget times to add some positions, including some school deans at 6 of our schools, our secondary schools, intervention counselors, to support our students who need some additional support. And very importantly, again, thinking about substance use and abuse, increased several substance abuse positions in our high schools and our alternative programs to support our students there. So what actions are we putting behind what we're saying? There, the school board and the school division did make some financial commitments with last year's budget to put these positions forward. All right, and I think next slide. Hopefully I'm on time there. I do want to thank you for the opportunity. And as I said, I know I get excited and I can talk. So I am more than happy if there's anyone who has follow-up questions, happy to take them now. Or the last slide is my contact information, email and phone number that you please always feel free to reach out to me. So I would be happy to take any questions. And I'll see if there's in the chat.
So, Dr. Crawford, I had a couple of prepared questions, but we are running out of time. I'm just going to ask the 2 questions. You covered a lot of them in your presentation, but we'd like to know if you could tell us a bit about APS's recruiting/retention strategies. We've spoken with several current and former employees, and a theme that has surfaced is that APS is not an inclusive or equitable employer. How does your office help influence the hiring practices within APS?
This is a critical area, and I know for time purposes, I will be brief, but it is recruitment and retention in the education system right now is a top priority in general. But to hear comments that I'm saying what I just went through, and then we have employees who are not experiencing inclusive, supportive environments. Our office helps by getting involved in specific cases. Staff members do reach out to our department. I will say also Dr. Bird and his team went to a human resources conference on equity recently to bring back some critical strategies for our HR department. We participate in the Multicultural Student Achievement Network, MSAN. And part of what MSAN does is sharing of resources. That is an area that we can tap into MSAN to make sure that we are up to speed. I would encourage any employees, though, if they're experiencing that, I hope that they have reached out before they make a different decision. And then I will say, I know HR, as far as recruiting goes, they monitor the data. Where have they have hit success? Are we getting into HBCUs? Are we getting into universities that are primarily Latino, and those are areas that we need more teachers. The workforce is too white, and that's a historical problem. But we certainly want to make sure that we are supporting our employees and that they are experiencing inclusion versus a lack of inclusivity. There is not, to my knowledge, an ombudsman. I'm sorry, I just saw that question pop up. Yes. Which is why I'm saying sometimes that is what Dr. Bird sort of functions as. Employees are, in my experience, very comfortable coming to TIE and even sharing on behalf of someone else. And then we're able to look into it. So I do not think that there is an ombudsman role. We have, of course, the education associations and employee assistance programs and those types of things, but they're not specifically an ombudsman per se.
Okay, and the other question was specifically about the overdoses that we're seeing practically daily in our schools of late. We'd like to know what, if anything, your office is doing to help with alleviating this and maybe trying to remedy the situation.
Yeah, that is a great question. Number one, constant conversation with the health department, with DHS and that partnership. We are a school system, so we are, what can we do? We can increase monitoring, oversight, those types of things. We know that we do have some students who have passed prevention and intervention and they are in need of treatment. Which is why I highlight our work with the county, because when we do have students who are in need of treatment, that's not something that the school can do. We need to work collaboratively to keep our kids safe and get them into detox and treatment type programs. In full transparency, and I know those of you who were on the conversation with the county last week, that is an area of critical need because we just do not have the programming across the country for all of our students who are younger to be able to access. So what does our department do? Trying to be succinct, we oversee all of the tiers there. We work with our health and PE department to do tier 1 instruction that's developmentally appropriate, even starting very young, appropriate use of medication, working with families, all the way up to that tier 3, referring families who need outpatient, who need treatment, the DHS work, and our substance abuse counselors working one-to-one with students and families, working with the courts through our second chance program and the constant provision of Narcan. Arlington really was ahead of the game last year in allowing students to self-carry well before any of that was put out there. And so the Narcan training is very well attended. I'm sure most of you know, but if you go, you do get Narcan. We have Narcan in every floor of our buildings. And we have staff at the secondary level who are all trained. So in case of a suspected overdose, there is no harm in using Narcan. So making sure that that is available to whether a student is carrying with parent permission or whether we're utilizing some supplies that are there. Thankfully, it's not every day, but even once is too much. And we know the drugs are so dangerous right now. It could be your first time. And if you get something that is laced, it could be your last time.
Thank you. And last thing, I'm going to turn it over to our former president and our first VP. But first, the last question I have here is, how is DEI showing up in the schools? And how comfortable would you be incorporating new material about people from different backgrounds into our curriculum in the schools?
Second part of that question, very comfortable. And that is something that we partner with academics. They'll reach out to us to say, do you have recommended resources? If they feel like it's an area that they don't have good representation, that is the culturally responsive, leading to culturally sustaining part. We need our students to see themselves in the material. It has to be relevant to our kids. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but that is when you get full investment, you build relationships, and the classes learn about one another. So absolutely, are we open to, if there's an area where we feel like you don't see material that's meeting a need, please reach out and let us know. And then the first part was DEI getting in the schools, right?
It was, how is DEI showing up in the schools? Yes.
Yeah, I would say that we're a work in progress right now, to be honest with you. How are we showing up in the schools? One way is the teacher evaluation work that I mentioned, and that is differentiated. So if we know we had a teacher who didn't get the best rating on culturally responsive teaching, providing direct assistance to that school, and hopefully to that individual teacher. It is also supporting those school-based people. So at the secondary level, we have DEI coordinators in every school. Dr. Bird and his team do monthly meetings with them and work to build programming capacity where we need to really spread the good work. It's communication. And the elementary, let me just say, also in the DEI world, we have influencers, which the name always makes me smile, as opposed to coordinators, in making sure, and there is a book that I love, so Dr. Bird has heard this many times, but that we are moving beyond heroes and holidays, so that our equity work is a part of just the work we do. We're not doing it because it's Black History Month or it's celebrate. We still want those celebrations, of course, to honor, but that again shouldn't be standalone. These things should be built into just our daily practices, and that's how we aspire to have DEI. Also, those conversations. If we see an issue, we need to have an environment where we are okay to come in and talk to each other and say, "Hey, we're looking at this discipline data. What's going on here in this grade, in the school? We're seeing overrepresentation, or we're seeing a trend. How can we help?"
Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to former President Spain, and then to first VP for questions.
I think the first VP may have had his hand raised before me, and I'll just wait after the first VP. I'm way on the totem pole. Go ahead, James.
Good evening. Thanks for coming this evening. You mentioned earlier that there's mandated implicit bias training and also training regarding being culturally responsive. How do you determine the impact of that training and whether it has a positive impact when there have been studies that indicate that mandated training doesn't work?
Really good question. So the implicit bias training is, that's why I tried to say expectations versus mandated expectations, but it is something that we expect all employees to participate in. How do we monitor it? Honestly, we talk to the participants. We ask them to evaluate, how did it go? We look at what is the data coming out of that school. So if we've already worked with a school and we see consistency in who we've trained in the school, and the reason why I'm saying that is, we do have turnover from year to year, just on a general year. So we need to make sure we're doing loop back training, and we are hitting people with the implicit bias training as quickly as we can, so they get it into their classrooms. But we look at both the survey data from the training, and we have some other surveys. Thank you, Dr. Bird, but our Your Voice Matters survey, which we talk to staff, we talk to students. It's how do we get it through student and staff voice? And then it's also independent data analysis. If we know that we are seeing cases come, let's say, to the hearing office, that have a certain profile, and we're never seeing cases that maybe fall outside of that very specific profile. It is us going to the school to say, hey, let's talk about who's getting referred and who's not, very importantly, abuse. Yes, we have seen this year particular high numbers within our Hispanic population. Does that mean, and here's the hard questions that we have to ask, we need to deal with those cases, support our students, support our families and getting them what they need. And then we have to say, is that a true disproportionate representation, or are we not getting referrals for non-Hispanic students? And if so, why? Oh, I'm sorry. And then you got a second part to your question about in the Virginia Department of Ed teacher evaluation system, they have an indicator of that we have to do every year as we evaluate staff. And Dr. Bird, I don't know what training was done in previous years when that indicator came out, but the teachers are aware of what they are rated on as a part of the evaluation system. And what we've been doing so far is also kind of coming after, since we have a year of data, looking at how did they do on that? Who needs maybe some targeted assistance?
And after you see people who just don't get it, what do you do?
My honest answer is it is our job to support them, to give them every opportunity. And if they do not get it, we counsel them into thinking that maybe this is not the best place for you. I mean, that is let me just say, that is Julie Crawford's philosophy. That's why you have to have an environment where you can have conversations. So I can say to a person, and they know, because of what we have done as a department, no one is being targeted. We're not going after anyone. We are looking and saying, hey, is this working for our students? That's why we do the work. But as I said, that also starts with administrators. If we have somebody who just doesn't get it, I need to make sure I've exhausted everything that I can do as a leader to make sure that I've given them opportunities to learn. And if they're just not, then I would say, we look at having that conversation. And if it's interfering with work, then there's also the documentation process and improvement planning. Because you're right, it's a spectrum. We have a lot of people who truly will get it, who are invested, and we do. We may not be able to get rid of the outliers who are choosing not to provide different opportunities.
Okay.
Go ahead, past president.
Yeah, thanks. And Dr. Crawford, one, thank you for being with us. And I'm gonna try not to take much time, but I heard a lot of what you stated. And keep in mind, I've been doing this for a couple of years here in Arlington. The story that you just laid out to us is a story I've heard 15 years ago.
Okay.
Now, this is no fault to do. This is not your fault. Okay. I put 3 kids through APS schools. When we're talking about identifying metrics, setting benchmarks, recruiting practices to bring in minority folks, it's not easier said than done. Someone has to lead the way on that, right? That's leadership. In the past 3 years, we go back to January 2020. You're the 3rd chief diversity officer here in APS.
Yes.
Aaron Gregory, Otley, and now you, in less than 3.5 years. I don't know if you're going to be here in another 1.5 years. I hope you are. What I'm getting at is that, and I work a little bit of diversity stuff in the corporate space. It's easier said than done. Diversity is the end state. The culture and everything you're trying to hone in, right? And leadership, that's the hard work up front. And it seems as though, right, I need to hear like, okay, these are our benchmarks. These are our targets. We're going to go after and bring in more minority teachers by X date. And this is our path. I don't hear any benchmarking. I just hear a lot of, again, this is not on you. This is the system that Tia talked about. And until we can get leadership in place to really fix the system and someone to take the bull by the horn and take on some of these issues, we're going to continue to have issues with our kids, right? We're going to continue to have these disproportionate numbers between our Black, brown, and other kids within the school system. Because when we see they're failing, right, we don't have a mechanism to go in and fix it. Everyone points the finger at everyone else. This is not your fault. So I hope you can come back because, again, sure. I have some ideas. You know, staff, of course, is getting a nice hefty paycheck over there at Syphax. Everyone needs to get paid, but our kids are suffering. Our parents are suffering, and no one's being held accountable. People are running through staff. People are running through the school board at a cyclic rate. Nobody's doing anything. There's no tangible outcomes that I've seen. Right? We're going to take $750,000, hopefully, right, and put towards programming. And the president talked about it earlier for our youth. It's going to be important to know to figure out how that money is spent throughout all of Arlington. Diversity is not just about Black and brown kids. Diversity is about everybody in the community. Right?
I agree.
All right. And so look, I'm just letting you know from my heart, and I know we're professionals, that we've heard this same song before at the NAACP. Okay. And I challenge you, right, as a leader and as a friend and as a fellow South Arlington, to go and take the bull by the horns. And when we come out, what are we going to do in 2024 for our recruit? What are we going to do to address the situation with our youth? Right. And I think people like you can lead that. And the last thing I'll say is, when you started your conversation, you said, well, no one expects the white woman to be. Diversity has no color. This program has no color. Anyone can speak to this. There's white allies, indigenous allies. That kind of throws off the conversation. So you're a champion in the field, and keep doing it.
Thank you for saying that. I do say it sometimes because I know that is and I agree with you. And I've been doing the work for a long time now. And there, when you have a good team who's training, there's also power in having diversity in your team, because as you're reaching out to people who maybe not be moving along, it's powerful. It's a good collaboration. By the way, I heard everything that you said. I appreciate your stating that. I can't read all the comments as they're coming up, but it does not sound like you are the only one in saying we've heard this before. And so where's the action?
And not just overtalk you, but this is not about me. This is about our community, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And many that have been here long before I showed up, they have seen this pattern. I think we have Sister Marguerite Gooden on the line. I just see a chat, who's been doing this for decades. They've seen this play out before, right? So I just want to see the tangibles. What are the good news story, not just the, like you said, Juneteenth, we show up, Black History Month, we show up, and we still have kids suffering, right? We have problems with, after school programming, which is definitely not yours, but this conversation can go, I did my term. It's over to you, Mr. President. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to hold us here just a couple moments longer because this is really an important conversation. And Dr. Crawford, I echo some of the sentiments that our past president has mentioned. A particular concern to me, I appreciate that you mentioned the suspension data. When we took a look at that data, what we saw was 4 out of 5 kids that are being suspended in Arlington are Black and brown. And unfortunately, at NAACP, that's just unacceptable for us, right? We sent a letter saying we'd like to learn more about where those particular suspensions are occurring. And the response, the initial response that we got back was, well, if you want that data, then go ahead and FOIA it, right? I know that wasn't you, but that's not the response that we were expecting. We're trying to solve this with you. We're trying to collaborate with APS. We did hear back from Dr. Duran, thankfully, that he would work to get us that data. I think he's still working on that. But we have a lot of work to do. I wonder if, quickly you could just talk a little bit about, and I know we're over time, but again, folks, this is a really important conversation. Could you tell us a little bit more, just, real popcorn, short and sweet? What is the new role of all the deans, the student deans or school deans? Could you tell us quickly what role they're playing and what was the need for getting them hired?
Sure. And I would just before I answer the dean question, just a reminder that school board work session does have appendices that goes pretty heavy into, it's not by school, but it goes into by level and type of infraction. So it does help break down to see what is someone going to in-school suspension for at high school? What is somebody going? And I can put the link in the chat when we are done. Yes. So
pardon me for interrupting you. Is there any reason it's not disaggregated by school in that, you know, that appendix or in that data?
I don't remember. I mean, there's not a reason that like we didn't want it to go forward like that. I think when you see the amount that's in there, it was pretty extensive, and just not wanting to get some of the bigger pieces lost. So no, there's not, it's more, that's more relevant, obviously, when we look at our middle and our high school where our numbers are bigger. But I'll follow up with Dr. Duran and we can see, how to get that. I think what you'll see when you do look at the data, at least what I saw when I looked at even the overarching numbers, our biggest reason for suspension remains something that is more subjective in nature. And of course, that's why we see the overrepresentation that we do. And that's why this journey and this work is so important. We're always going to have suspensions for things that are just what I call the deal breakers. If a weapon, we've got a situation with drugs, et cetera. But those subjective offenses are where we need to look at what are alternatives to suspension. But to your dean question, so we have 6 positions, and so they're not in every secondary school like the intervention counselors are. And we actually did the onboarding. Our department did the onboarding. It meets monthly with the deans. So they were trained in initial training in restorative practices and alternatives to suspension and digging into. Dr. Bird and his team actually did some training with equity work. And while it's a little bit school dependent, they are administrators. So they're on the administrative team. They may have some supervisory responsibilities, but the expectation is positive programming along the lines of alternative to suspension. How are they building relationships? I'll use the Wakefield an example of, I know she is doing some work towards school attendance because their chronic absenteeism number is very high. So chipping away at that, building systems that are hopefully supporting at why is the student out? What's the root cause versus just they're out again. At Jefferson, they're doing some different, the dean is doing some different work with I forget what the name is, I'm sorry, but basically the in-school suspension. What are we doing in in-school suspension to make sure that we're supporting if the student needs some additional social emotional or also just replacement behaviors? And this is my quick soapbox with the detention center. We have students who have challenges. They go into detention. It doesn't rehabilitate if we don't have explicit instruction on either different decision-making, addressing the issue, replacement behaviors, and then they have a little bit of time in detention and they go back to a same situation and are magically expected to make different decisions when they're kids. So it's utilizing our deans to do some of that programming, fresh set of eyes, another set of hands too, which if they're doing some of that work proactively, hopefully some of the administrative team can then also do more instructional rounds and observations so that they're able to see what's happening in the classroom.
I appreciate that. And I know we're short on time. I want to close with just a request from you and maybe a commitment. There were several questions in the chat. I know our education chair has several more. I've received, even more. I wonder if we could compile all those questions and, send them over to your office. Would you be able to respond, and we'll send those out to everybody that attended our meeting tonight?
I'd be happy to, and I'll share the presentation. And, Dr. Bird, I won't speak for you. Like, our department is committed. We're happy to come on anytime that you would like. We do participate in the monthly meeting with your subgroup that comes to meet with Dr. Duran. So that might be another avenue for us to continue the conversation. But we are here and happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Great. I appreciate that. Just the particular note, we will compile that. There is in the state office in education, they have started to do work to remove equity and put the word opportunity in its place. And I hope that you will do all that you can to, hold the line in those instances. And if there are, ways for us to collaborate and partner, we hope that you would reach out, because I think everyone on this call knows there's a clear difference between equity and opportunity. Achievement gap is another significant priority for us. The data is devastating when we look at it and how our Black and Brown students are achieving. I know that's a top focus for you as well. And then, again, just short on time, but we'd love to learn more about some of the early adverse impacts we're starting to see as it relates to, hopefully bringing COVID to a close, and how we're seeing our students perform, particularly our students that are historically underserved. So, Past President, did you have just a couple brief remarks before we close out?
Just real quick. What is the collaboration between your office, Dr. Crawford, and Dr. Samia Bird over in the county? And how often do you communicate on best practices regarding DEIA?
Really good question. And there is some, but it's definitely an area that we need to continue that work. I'm talking about me personally, just having joined for a few months, trying to do the math quickly in my head. But when we look at things that we have overlap, whether it's substance abuse, restorative practices, it's ongoing conversations and partnerships, so that we're not doing double duty. And that in Arlington, we are a small, very caring and heavily involved community. So how are we using the same language? How are we really partnering? I will say my experience in Alexandria, one thing that we did, and Arlington participated as well. Actually, I was in Alexandria, but was the Government Alliance for Race and Equity, GARE. I know that they did some GARE training, and so touching back at that, not just for their resources, but like I said, that framework, that consistency, that vocabulary across the county. So there's some conversation, but we do not have a structure right now that we have regular meetings. And I know that Dr. Bird, however, our Dr. Bird, Ty, on the call, meets with her monthly.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to move us along. Madam Chair, any closing remarks from you?
Do you know how to make this so I can see the comments?
You might need to press escape. If you're on like an iPad, it might pop up on a different screen. Madam Education Chair, any final closing remarks from you?
Just thank you, Dr. Crawford, for coming to share with us this evening.
I agree. We really appreciate your time. I know our Education Committee meets monthly, and I know that our chair will be in close contact with you. We'll compile all that information, and we appreciate your time tonight and the time that you'll take to respond to all those questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, stick around. We got some important announcements. We're going to move quickly. First VP, any remarks for the membership?
Yes, recently I had the opportunity to attend the Virginia State Conference. This time it was only one day, so it was primarily business meetings all day. But it did result in the culmination of a new president. That new president is Reverend Corey Bailey out of Prince William. Also during the one-day conference, we had a surprise visit by Delegate Don Scott, who was a speaker designee for the Virginia House of Delegates. He is the first African-American in the House of Delegates to be the speaker in 400 years. So that was quite an honor to be present, at that event. Secondly, coming up, an organization called the National Organization of Blacks in Criminal Justice reached out to our branch for assistance in setting up a panel.
First VP went on mute for a sec. We heard about reached out to the branch.
Reached out to the branch in reference to a panel that they want to do regarding making the case for voting, because they realize that so many people are apathetic about voting. So they reached out to us for that. We're in the process of discussing it with the PAC committee. And then finally, and very importantly, there's a new human rights commissioner. Wanda Younger has been appointed to the Human Rights Commission for Arlington County.
Thank you for those awesome updates. And I can't believe that I missed that new appointment, folks. Yeah, we do have a new Human Rights Commissioner, our very own Madam Secretary. It was recorded, posted online. If you didn't get a chance to see that, you definitely want to go and check that out. Add that to your list of readings or meetings this week. She hit the ground running. So really proud of you, Madam Secretary. And thank you, First VP, for that excellent update. Second VP, are you still with us?
I think she had to drop off.
Okay, great. I know, yeah, she said she had to drop. Okay, Education Committee, any updates for you?
Just wanted to share with the membership that we did meet with Dr. Crawford and Dr. Duran a couple months ago, and we did go over that disaggregated data. As you stated earlier, we did request to have it broken down by school, still awaiting that. We also presented a safety campaign proposal to them, specifically starting with bus stops, and got an almost immediate response with changes. We're still working with them, and they're also still doing safety weeks now that's been started. We were also asked to participate with the APS strategic plan, and specifically in focus groups, and they also have a steering committee that they have working on that for the school system. And lastly, with regard to the overdoses, we've been working closely with the school board, county board, and other members to try to figure out something to do for our students with regard to after school programming.
All right, awesome update from Education Committee. I did want to let everyone on this call know, unfortunately, there was a death at Wakefield High School last night. We're hearing that it wasn't a student, that it's actively under investigation. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't a student that attended APS, but there was someone that passed away. So we're looking forward to, unfortunately, learning more. And thank you, Madam Chair, for all that you're doing in education. Religious Affairs, any updates for you? All right, hearing none. Housing?
I was trying to unmute myself.
Oh, go ahead, Sister Dunkley.
Right now, I know that there is going to be COVID and flu shots given at Macedonia on December the 2nd. I don't know if it's free or you have to have insurance or not, but I'll get that information and give it to the secretary.
We appreciate that, and we will work to create a graphic and circulate that with our list of emails as well. Okay. So that's an important update. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Housing Committee.
They had to drop off as well.
Thank you. Political Action.
Hi, everyone. So I'll just share briefly, at our last PAC meeting, we debriefed on the last election, and we are still seeing considerable disparities of voter turnout throughout the county, especially in the precincts that are disproportionately people of color. So again, the work that we are doing to get out the vote is extremely important. And we know there's still a lot more to do. So please stay tuned for opportunities to volunteer. We have a big election coming up next year, and we're going to try to find different ways to engage our volunteers, whether it be, participating in events or going door to door, or if, you'd prefer to help put materials together. We're going to have a lot of different things available. So please stay tuned, and I'll put my email in the chat in case you want to reach out ahead of time and kind of learn a little bit more, but that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Great update. I'm looking forward to what you'll do in 2024 as well. Environmental Climate Justice.
Yes, good evening. We a few weeks ago we had a couple major presenters coming from national NAACP, the climate policy officer here in Arlington, to include our friends at EcoAction. So if you will be meeting as a committee sometime in first part of December, date to be determined, since we're just getting back on our feet. If you are interested in learning more about environmental climate justice and where we as NAACP prohibited. I have put the email in our chat. Just reach out to me and we will get back with you and bring you into the committee. Must be a paid member though. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. Active as always. Madam Secretary, I don't believe criminal justice is with us. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is there anyone from criminal justice that would like to brief the membership?
We have our legal redress chair. Amy
Okay.
Steph-
Legal redress.
Hi, everyone. So the Criminal Justice Committee is reaching out to Sheriff Quiros to see if he will be on board to have a community advisory group help advise the jail on issues that are going on. He's open-minded about it. We sent a proposal and we're waiting to hear back from him, and we're going to invite him to a meeting. We're also partnering with other groups to get them on board to appoint members and convince Sheriff Quiros that this is a good idea. A little bit of a legal redress update tangentially. We're trying to get the death investigations from the jail for Paul Thompson and Clyde Spencer. We've been denied them by the sheriff and today officially by the police, even though in the past we have gotten them from the police on other death investigations. So we're considering options on how to go forward to get those. We think it's important for the public to know what happened. So in the interest of transparency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those executive committee members that are on the call tonight, please be advised that I may be calling a special call meeting of all the executive committee members. We may be taking some legal action with Arlington County. So stay tuned. I'll have more details in the coming days. Membership, anyone from membership?
No.
Thank you. Health Committee.
Hello, everyone. Not sure if you can see me. My camera's acting a bit funny. But I wanted to share that we do have plans to move forward with a 2024 Family Health Committee Fair that will encompass supporting efforts towards mental health and behavioral health for our teenagers, as well as maternal and infant health resources and support. As we learned in the community meeting last week? There are plenty of resources out here. We just, as the community, the connection is missing. So connecting those resources with the community and giving them a place to get more than just a paper that gives them information, but actually a place to sign up and also have fun, get some, hands-on experience with some of these things and resources that are in the area, is what the goal is for the health fair. Also wanted to share that we supported the Northern Virginia Community Doula Project in getting a $153,000 grant now to provide scholarships to underserved communities, basically Black and Brown doulas or people interested in becoming doulas, to get their state certified training. This means that come 2024, we're going to open the applications again. So anyone interested in becoming a doula to support our community and families on Medicaid will be being reimbursed by Medicaid for those clients. The applications will be out coming soon so that cohort trainings can begin in 2024. So we're very excited about that.
All right,
And
thank you,
I
Madam
think
Chair.
that is all for now.
I appreciate it. I know 2024 will be a very active year, and I'm looking forward to all the lives that you will impact. Thank you for all that you do. Do we have anyone from the Youth Council?
No, we do not.
Okay, great. Madam Secretary, did I miss any updates or announcements?
No.
Okay, great. Folks, we are actually going to end up on time. Before I let you go, I'm going to drop a link in the chat, one more link. It is to become a member. Tonight you heard endless updates on the work that we're doing in the community. I can't tell you how disappointing it is when I talk to a lot of you on the call and so many of you in the community, and I say, hey, are you a member of the NAACP? And what I get back is no, or there's a lot of you that think you're members, and unfortunately, your membership has expired. There is no way for NAACP to automatically renew your membership. And so my call to action for you tonight is to please become a member of this branch. I dropped the link into the chat. Our branch number is 7047B. It's $30 a year. or you can become a Silver Life member like many of our peers in the community and get it done. You'll be a life member of the branch. It's more than just the money. While that does certainly help, what it does is it means that you stand with the oldest and largest civil rights organization in America. So as we close, I want to give you a quote. I love quotes. It's from Oprah. Earlier when we started the meeting, I asked you to think about something that you are grateful for. And Oprah says, living in the moment means letting go of the past and not waiting for the future. It means living your life consciously, aware that each moment you breathe is a gift. I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving this week. Make some memorable moments with your family. And I hope to see you at our in-person holiday social, 1218 Walter Reed at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening.